Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am creating 3 cards using a fantastic card making kit. This is the Catherine Pooler Club Sursee November 2022 kit, and I think you're gonna love it. And I love creating with kits because the products are curated to work really well together, and this kit is a fabulous value. I'm using the deluxe edition of the Club Sursee this month. So it includes 2 full-size stamp sets, 2 of the coordinating die sets, and then a bonus die as well, which is kind of a surprise for the deluxe subscribers this month. And this kit includes the On the Slopes stamp set. So you can see it's got some really great sentiments as well as some imagery as well. And with the deluxe kit, you do get the coordinating die set. So that is included in the deluxe kit as well. Also included in this month's club kit is the Alpine Trails stamp and coordinating die set. So I love these kind of badge style stamps here. I think they're so fun, and I'm creating a card with those as well. There's also that really cool kind of ski slope view with the coordinating die. And finally, in this month's kit, there is a bonus die for deluxe subscribers, and it is this Alpine View die. Now this is great to make shaker cards. I'm going to use it in a little bit different way today, but keep in mind it would make a great shaker window as well. So I'm starting out with the On the Slopes stamp set, and I am going to stamp some of the imagery onto some watercolor cardstock using a waterproof black ink. So I'm just using my Misty stamping tool so that I can stamp these images twice to get a nice deep dark black image. Now, when I am creating with a kit, because things are really well coordinated to work together, I like to stick within one color palette as well. And so the color palette that I have chosen is Hot Tub, Clay Mask, Do-Si-Do, Buttercream, Juniper Mist, and then I threw in a little bit of green tea as well for my final card project. But keeping this cohesive color palette will really connect all of the projects together, and when the imagery is connected and the color palette is connected, you can really create a really cool collection of cards. So I've just dabbed a little bit of my Catherine Pooler inks onto my glass mat, and I am picking them up with a water brush, and I am just clearing off my water brush between the colors on that paper towel over there. And I'm coloring these images in. Really easy to do. It doesn't take a whole lot of work. And these Catherine Pooler inks are water reactive, so they work really well for watercoloring. Now, once I have those images colored in with my water brush, I'm going to hit them with a heat tool really quickly before I use the coordinating dies to die cut them out. Now, I'm also die cutting the Alpine View die from some white cardstock, and I will die cut it from some white glitter cardstock as well, because I'm going to stack those up to create a little scene. Now I'm going to save this inner part here because I'm going to use it for my next card. And you can see I've die cut the window 2 times from white cardstock and then once from the white glitter cardstock. And I've saved the negative piece that comes out of the inside. Now on this glitter cardstock piece, I am using Copic markers to add a little bit of shading. So I'm using BG70 and BG72, and I'm starting with the darker of the markers and just kind of going on the slope of those mountains there. And then I'm going to use the BG70 marker to kind of blend that out. And this is just going to add a little definition to this mountain range on the bottom of this die set. These Copic markers, by the way, coordinate beautifully with the Catherine Pooler Hot Tub, and I love that Hot Tub ink. I think it is so beautiful. Now, once I have my shading done, I'm going to stack these die cuts up, and I'm just using a little Barely Art liquid glue to stack the 2 white die cut pieces and then add that glitter cardstock piece on the top. And then I can add my die cut, stamped, watercolored, and die cut images to the top as well. And you can see I have a few of the snowflakes that I've stamped in Hot Tub ink and die cut using the coordinating dies. Those are a part of the stamp sets that are included in this month's Club Sursee. And I am just adding a couple of those here and there. Now, once I have my window scene built up, I am going to add this on top of a white cardstock rectangle here. I'm using Hammermill cardstock here. And I'm using some Post-its to kind of mask around the edge because I only want to ink blend the inside of this window. And if you feel like this is a different color palette on the skis and the hat here, you are absolutely right. I ended up changing my mind on the color palette, but I used Stone Blue and Mandarin Spice for those blues and oranges instead of the Hot Tub and Clay Mask. So it's a perfect example of how you can actually just change up a couple colors in a color palette and create a whole new color palette. Now, once I ink blended that area, I went ahead and stamped my sentiment within that window. I've stacked up these card fronts and I've just layered it up with a little bit of navy ink. And I finished this off with some of the Crater Lake sequins, and that is my first card. And I made a horizontal card. I hardly ever make horizontal cards. So for my second card project, I have a die cut rectangle of Hammermill cardstock, and I am using the negative pieces from those die cuts from card number 1. So I'm just using that mountain range that kind of falls out there. I'm using it as a guide to mask off the outer frame of this white rectangle here. And then I'm going to ink blend this area using the Hot Tub ink and an ink blending brush. So I'm just going to go light-handed on this. These will smooth out as they dry, and I think this color palette is so beautiful. Now, once I've ink blended this rectangle here, I am also going to do some ink blending on the top layer of the mountain range. So I'll remove my masking so you can see this beautiful white frame I have. It's going to line up with the edge of my die cut, which is why I did it. I wanted to kind of keep all of that within the area of the die cut. And now I'm using the clay mask to blend over this negative portion of that Alpine View die that we used earlier. Now I'm just using a piece of Post-it tape over my fingers to keep the ink from transferring to my fingers. And once I have that blended, I am going to grab one of the sentiments from the Alpine Trails stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it using Juniper Mist ink. So this Juniper Mist is a really important part of the color story that I have going on today. Mine is kind of needing a re-inking, so I did have to stamp that twice using my Misty stamping tool. And now I'm taking these negative pieces. So I have 2 plain white cardstock pieces that I've stacked up there. I'm going to top that off with this ink blended piece. But before I add it onto the top, I'm just adding a little liquid glue along the edge of that mountain range there and adding some clear glitter, and then I'll place this on the top. So the mountain ranges kind of stick up over the top of the other areas. And I'll finish this card off by adding some of the die cut and stamped snowflakes, some Crater Lake sequins, and I'm just going to layer a piece of navy cardstock behind this. And this is a top folding A2 size card. So beautiful and sparkly, and I absolutely love this color palette for winter. Now for my third card project, I have another white rectangle here. I am ink blending all over this area using some Hot Tub ink. So once again, I am just using the same color palette, and when I'm done, all of these cards are going to feel very connected. Now, once I've ink blended this entire panel, I didn't go super heavy. I'm going to use a sticky mat inside of my Misty to hold this panel in place as I stamp some of the stamps from the Alpine Trails stamp set on top of it. I'm doing a tone-on-tone pattern here. This card gives me total Boy Scout vibes. So I'm just using Hot Tub ink to stamp on top of that ink blended panel. And then I'm going to move my stamps and continue my pattern of stamping here. I'm just kind of nestling these stamps into the areas that I feel like they fit. I will ink them up in Hot Tub ink and stamp again. And I finished off my pattern with one more of the circle stamps right at the top, just kind of overlapping. I felt like it had a gap there that needed to be filled. Now for the focal point of my card, I am going to be heat embossing on some watercolor cardstock. So I've prepped the surface with a powder tool, and I'm using one of these, what I call badges, or crests, I guess they could be, to stamp onto this watercolor cardstock using some VersaMark embossing ink. I'm going to cover this with some silver embossing powder and then heat set that embossing powder. Now, when you're embossing on watercolor cardstock, you want to make sure you do not overheat your embossing powder because it will soak right into the paper and you will totally lose your shiny raised image. So just hit it until it melts and then move on. Now I'm using this watercolor technique again and my same color palette, hot tub, clay mask, and a little bit of green tea here to color in this crest. And I love the way this crest turned out. I think it is so beautiful. That addition of green tea on this particular card project was absolutely perfect. And I have to say, if you're intimidated by coloring, try this watercolor technique. It is so easy and so forgiving. You can add a layer of color, and then where you want to add a little more shadow, just allow that first layer of watercolor to dry and just go back in and add your shading with another layer of watercolor. So now I've die cut that using the coordinating die. I'm also going to die cut a piece of glitter cardstock, white glitter cardstock, and a piece of navy cardstock using that crest die. And I've taken the alpine window and just trimmed out just the mountain range from the bottom of that. I'm going to stack up these crest die cuts using a little bit of offset so that there's kind of this triple layer shadow effect going on. But to adhere the white glitter cardstock behind it, I wanted to use liquid glue because glitter cardstock can be a little tricky to adhere if you're adhering on the glitter side. And then I'm using that same Copic marker technique again to add shading to my mountain ranges. I'm going to layer all of this up on a vellum circle that I die cut using a Catherine Pooler die. So I'm just kind of overlapping this where it hangs off the edge of this card front. And then I'm going to stack up my elements on top of it. So I'm starting with the mountain range. I'm adding my crest, and all of these are added using some foam adhesive. And then I'm going to finish this off with just a few Crater Lake sequins. So once again, repeating that navy layer behind this layer here, adding my Crater Lake sequins with some liquid glue, and that finishes off my third card project today. I love these card projects, and I have to say this Catherine Pooler Club Sursee subscription is a great value. You save about 40% with the deluxe kit. This is a $90 value, and it's all sold for $47.95. Now, if you like these products and you are not a subscription member, you can purchase them at full retail at a later time, but this is a great value if you purchase it in the kit. Now, to get this month's Club Sursee subscription kit, you have to sign up by November 14th to get the November shipment, so you still have time. If you want to check out more about the Catherine Pooler Club Sursee subscription card kit, go ahead and click the link below in the YouTube description. I'll have that link for you, as well as links to the featured products used in these projects, like I always do. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. So be sure you head on over there if that's the information you're looking for. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I am so glad you're here. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials that I share here. And if you loved this video, I would love it if you would share it with a friend and let me know in the comments below which of these 3 cards is your favorite. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are one of my favorites. To subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click the button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.